The Dungeon Master Experience is a series of articles written by Chris Perkins in Dungeon Magazine in 2011. The following readings are his words, and though produced before the current edition, still contains great insights, advice, and tips for Dungeon Masters for any edition, and for that matter, any TTRPG. DM's Lib, 8/11/2011, Monday night. The heroes are assaulting the Black Candle, a secret stronghold of Vecna-worshipping wizards. Upon reaching the inner sanctum, they discover that their adversaries have summoned an aspect of Vecna, mounted on a Dracolich. As the aspects turn to destroy them, the beleaguered, resource-drained heroes lower their weapons and beg for a truce, remembering that they and the maimed lord share a common foe, a growing threat from the far realm. I asked the players to make group diplomacy checks, as the aspect of Vecna considers their characters' words. Dice results are in the party's favor, and so the undead lord decides to heed the wisdom of their counsel and forge a temporary alliance. The aspect allows the heroes to destroy those they came to destroy, and promises to send a more worthy vassal to them at a later time, as part of a pledge to aid them in their efforts to destroy the Far Realm threat. End of session. This is not how I expected the game session to end. I expected what most DMs expect: a few minced words, followed by a lot of blood and shattered bones. But then, I sometimes forget that a good DM provides the compass but lets the players choose the direction. I often said that improvisation is the best tool in any Dungeon Master's toolbox. Actually, it's more of a skill than a tool, and I primarily rely on improvisation to curtail on preparation time and to keep my game from stalling or becoming dull. And like any skill, it develops over time. If you doubt your improvisational skills, take the following test. The heroes have a quest to slay Snur Ironbelly, the Fire Giant King. After slaughtering their way to his august presence, they decide on a whim not to kill him. Instead, they offer their services as mercenaries for hire, citing their success in breaching the hall as proof of their competence. Maybe the offer is genuine. Maybe it's a ruse. Regardless, does Snur attack the heroes? Some DMs prefer to run published adventures because the story is heavily scripted, and the likelihood that the DM will be called upon to improvise is greatly reduced. But even published adventures cannot account for every action the player characters might take. In the Hall of the Fire Giant King, the classic AD&D module, the heroes are expected to kill Snur. At least that's what Gary Gygax surely intended when TSR published the original adventure back in 1978. However, no published adventure can account for every possible player choice, and a good DM, like any good storyteller, knows an opportunity when he or she sees it. Snur's death might be a foregone conclusion, but situations that naturally arise to forestall the inevitable are always worth exploring, as are opportunities that allow characters to break out of the traditional adventurer role and spend a few sessions trying on different hats, like the mercenary hat, for example, or exploring their morality. Were I the DM, I would let the skill check results guide my decision, but I would be strongly disposed toward taking the story in the more unexpected direction. Being a fire giant, Snur would certainly respect shows of brute force and raw power, so of course he'd want mighty adventurers at his beck and call. Who wouldn't? Having the heroes become Snur's henchmen, even briefly, is the stuff players will remember long after the campaign has ended. Now try this one. The heroes receive a quest to escort the imperial heir to the capital. The foolish young heir proves to be a royal pain in the ass, and despite the hero's efforts, or because of them, the heir dies en route. Rather than deliver his dead body, the heroes bury it and decide that one of them will use a hat of disguise to impersonate the heir, perhaps, in time, assume lordship over the kingdom. As the DM, do you allow this? Yes, of course you do. Maybe you never expected the campaign to bend in that direction, but it's a perfectly logical development to the story, and one that's likely to spur all kinds of wonderful role-playing opportunities and campaign developments. Suddenly, the heroes have a secret, and a chance to really turn the campaign on its head. By allowing for unexpected twists and turns, you've forced yourself to improvise, and every time you do this, your improvisational skill improves, and the player's expectations are blown out of the water. In a seminar at San Diego Comic-Con, I urged DMs to underprepare then improvise. My campaign, like many campaigns, has needs that published adventures cannot address. It has lots of role-playing and politics and very few sprawling dungeons. Consequently, I rarely use published adventures, even short ones, preferring to devise my own encounters week after week. Before each game session, I type up a one-page document that goes into my campaign binder. On this page is a summary of important things that need to be recapped at the start of the session, followed by a list of NPCs who will likely make an appearance, followed by short descriptions of events or encounters I expect to happen. If the adventure includes a location to explore, I include a map accompanied by swatches of descriptive text reminding me of important details. Sometimes I'll require a stat block for a unique NPC or monster, but I try to use existing stat blocks and modify them as needed, as discussed in Instant Monster. The one-page session overview illustrates the degree to which I under-prepare for a game session. It provides a few guideposts, but most of the session is improvised. I find my players don't suffer for the lack of preparation on my part, as long as I prod them when the action stalls and roll with them once they've committed to a course of action. Lessons learned. When the players do something that threatens to take the story in an unexpected direction, allow it. And imagine the next logical outcome or event and proceed from there. If for some reason you can't think of the next logical outcome or event, consider ending the session on a cliffhanger and allowing yourself time to mull over the implications. A hero wants to use a hat of disguise to impersonate the royal heir? No problem. Let's see what happens when a perceptive royal sibling succeeds at an insight check and senses something is amiss. Maybe the threat of discovery leads the characters to kill two birds with one stone by murdering the king and framing the suspicious sibling for his death. Again, no problem. Yeah, the characters have usurped a kingdom, but all the threats to the kingdom are still there. And ironically enough, the hero's skills as adventurers might be the kingdom's best hope of survival. The campaign marches on, just not in the way you or your players expected. So my Monday night group, out of dire necessity, has forged an alliance with the evil god of secrets. The players know it's a marriage of convenience, not long for the world. But it raises lots of interesting questions and opens up lots of role-playing opportunities. Can the heroes learn to work alongside Vecna's evil servants? Will certain characters' personal misgivings threaten to end the alliance? Which side will betray the other first? By their choices and actions, the players have made the campaign more interesting and complicated, and they've put my improvisational skills to the test. I shall not disappoint them. I've learned that the secret to developing one's improvisational skills as a DM is to listen to what the players want to do, and then steer the adventure in that direction, even if it runs counter to my own expectations. Only when my expectations are challenged can the campaign go off in surprisingly fun directions. Many campaigns die of boredom, DM boredom, player boredom, or both. But you can mitigate the threat of boredom by keeping yourself open to ideas and demonstrating to your players that you're not locked into telling one story and one story only. Until the next encounter. Also, don't forget to follow the link in the description to pick up my first ever adventure and setting for free on Patreon and DriveThruRPG now. Dive into the desert region of Gondolar as adventurers making their way to the budding city town of Silt Pass in search of gold, glory, and answers to the secrets of a long-lost empire. In this first adventure, your heroes will defend the Dune Dancer, a sandcutter airship from a legendary group of bandits known as the Stormbringers. Do you have what it takes to stop the Stormbringers and their bombastic leader Tharok, or will you make a deal with the devil of the sands and join them? Decide your destiny in the first of 6 adventures. TSI, Tharok, Stormbringer, Iron Mane.